The M1 Garand, often called the rifle that won the war, stands as a symbol of American ingenuity and determination. Its design, reliability, and the unmistakable sound of its empty clip ejecting became legendary among soldiers. For many, it was more than just a piece of equipment. It was a lifeline in the chaos of battle. For the average infantryman in World War II, the idea of winning the war was, honestly, pretty abstract. Survival, though, was concrete. His world was measured in yards, in the weight of his pack, in the number of rounds he carried, and most importantly, in the reliability of the tool in his hands. And for the American rifleman, that tool was the M1 Garand. You'll often hear it called the greatest battle implement ever devised. That's Patton's line. It's not wrong, but it's incomplete. It frames the weapon as a triumph of engineering, which, sure, it was. But that perspective overlooks a more fundamental and honestly brutal reality. The M1 Garand didn't just help America win battles. It forced a fundamental restructuring of small unit tactics against an enemy whose doctrine was built around the deliberate, measured pace of the bolt-action rifle. The consequence wasn't just victory, it was a systematic and overwhelming increase in the volume of fire an American infantry squad could generate, which in turn redefined the very geometry of the battlefield for the men who had to survive on it. The development of the Garand was, really, a gamble on industrial capacity, not just ingenuity. While other nations entered the war with, or quickly adopted, semi-automatic rifles, the Soviet SVT-40, the German G43, none were produced in such overwhelming numbers, nor made the standard issue, as the American M1. This was a conscious, costly, and risky decision in the 1930s. The Ordnance Department bet that American manufacturing could solve a problem that had plagued firearm design for centuries. Creating a self-loading rifle that was durable enough for trench mud, desert sand, and Arctic frost, yet simple enough for mass conscription armies. John Garand's design, with its gas-operated piston and rotating bolt, was that answer. But the key was the commitment. By December 1941, over 600,000 Garands were already in service. This wasn't a specialty weapon for elite troops, it was the baseline. This industrial pre-positioning meant that when the massive infantry formations of 1944 and 45 landed, they did so with a fundamental qualitative advantage that had been baked into the system years before the first shot was fired. The lesson here is one of strategic infrastructure. The weapon didn't win the war on its own. The factories, the gauges, the training manuals, and the logistical pipelines that built and sustained it did. What the GI held in his hands was a weapon of psychological and physical consequence. The M1 was heavy, just over 9.5 pounds loaded. It was long. For a soldier in a muddy foxhole or a dense hedgerow, it was honestly kinda cumbersome. But he traded that burden for 8 rounds of .30-06 Springfield power, fired as fast as he could pull the trigger and stay on target. This shifted the infantryman's role from a deliberate marksman, the idealized vision of the bolt-action era, to what historian S.L.A. Marshall would later describe as the central source of a base of fire. In his groundbreaking post-combat studies, Marshall found that in a firefight, it was the volume of fire, not its pinpoint accuracy, that kept the enemy's head down and allowed for maneuver. The M1 was the perfect engine for this doctrine. Its in-block clip, often criticized for the famous ping that signaled it was empty, actually encouraged, sustained fire. A soldier wasn't fumbling for loose rounds, he had a pre-packaged unit of 8, and the reload, even under pressure, was faster than charging a 5-round Mauser or Arisaka. The psychological effect on both the user and the target was, honestly, pretty profound. A German veteran of Normandy noted the distinctive rolling sound of Garand fire, describing it as a ripping canvas that was unmistakable and intimidating. For the GI, the rifle's heft and power gave a tangible sense of capability, a crucial factor in the chaos of combat. The rifle created a new tactical problem for America's enemies, one they just couldn't solve. German and Japanese infantry doctrine was predicated on the machine gun as the squad's central firepower. The riflemen existed to support and protect the MG-34 or the Type 96. They were supposed to advance under its covering fire or pin down an enemy while it repositioned. The American squad, however, with at least 8 of its 12 men carrying Garands, presented a completely different problem. There was no single machine gun to suppress. Instead, there were 8 rapid-firing points of potential suppression. A German machine gun nest once identified could be bracketed and overwhelmed by semi-automatic fire from multiple directions, preventing it from traversing freely or forcing the crew to keep down, while other elements of the squad flanked. This, honestly, just broke the enemy's tactical playbook. The German response, later mirrored in their own development of the Sturmgewehr, was an acknowledgement that distributed automatic firepower at the individual level was the new paradigm. The Garand forced that realization in blood and battlefield failure. The legacy of the Garand is found in the cold pragmatism of its design and its demand on the user. Survival with the Garand required understanding its mechanics. It was not by any means a forgiving weapon. The M1 thumb, the painful and sometimes bone-crushing result of a thumb getting caught in the bolt when loading a clip, was a brutal but effective teacher in weapon handling and respect. The rifle demanded regular maintenance, its gas system could carbon foul, and its operating rod needed to be clean and straight. The soldiers who thrived with it learned its rhythms, its eccentricities. They learned to use the ping not as a liability, but as a moment for tactical communication, a simultaneous reload that could be covered by another man. This relationship between man and machine, built on intimate practical knowledge, is a timeless survival lesson. Your equipment is not a magic talisman. It is a system with strengths, weaknesses, and requirements. Mastery of that system, not just ownership of it, is what creates a decisive advantage. We remember the M1 Garand not for its nostalgia but for its concrete impact. It represents a moment where industrial vision, mechanical soundness, and tactical necessity aligned. Studying it moves us beyond the romance of the good old gun and into the realm of sober analysis. How tools shape tactics, how logistics dictate limits, and how the individual's trust in his equipment forms the bedrock of unit effectiveness. In understanding this, we understand a core truth of 20th century conflict. Victories are built long before the battle, in the drawing offices on the factory floors, and in the hands of a soldier learning the exact feel of his rifle's action. These stories matter because they strip away grand narrative and focus on the tangible details that decided fates. They are the foundation of serious history and of serious preparedness. If you find value in this kind of grounded, detailed analysis, consider subscribing to War Machiner. Sharing this video helps support the research and work that goes into every episode. Thank you for watching.